I think you get better at telling when it's done the more things that you finish. But like interestingly, you know, I probably would have called this track done, but then a producer friend of mine hit me up and he's like, I have some great ideas with that thing. I'd love to play with it. And he's been taking it further, and I'm like hoping to release what he does with it. And it's not like a completely new track or anything, but I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of like more done than mine. But you can keep playing that game forever. So I think it's kind of like honing your own sense of where you wanted to take a particular idea, you know, the vision that you had for it, and hopefully, you know, kind of getting away from some of those perfectionist tendencies where you end up, you know, just tweaking around little details that you're the only person who's going to notice them. But yeah, I think that's something that you kind of arrive at particularly after finishing a lot of things, not just working on a lot of things, but doing a lot of deciding this was done, getting it out into the world. And there's definitely things, you know, that I would listen back to now in my back catalog, and I'm like, I actually would want to put more work into that. But it's also just, it's a document of where I was at that time, and I think that's great too. So yeah, everything can be done, and everything can be worked on forever. Well, there's sort of different ways to do it, because with YouTube, I give myself all these interesting video ideas. And so, you know, if I'm giving myself the challenge to only make a song with balloon sounds, then I'm like, well, there's not going to be a tuba on this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it really condenses your options down. And so I think that's one thing, is like understanding, I guess, what your the track's limitations are, like knowing for the piece of music you're making, you know, what's the scope of it. And sometimes it takes a little while to arrive at that. And I definitely also give myself deadlines. And you know, you try to be realistic with that. You kind of like, depending on the experience that you have or what exactly the project is, you kind of decide what amount of time you think should be reasonable to make something. But yeah, that's you know, even after doing this stuff for so long and having released a lot of music, it's still really flexible, because there will be times where I'm like, this month is the month that I'm like dedicating to this album, and then turns out I just like don't know what lyrics should go here for 6 weeks, or you know, other stuff comes up and I have to work on other stuff. But yeah, definitely at some point there's been a deadline in every project that I've released. I mean, I do take a lot of different approaches, and it does depend on the project. What I will say is that in general, I think it is about kind of prioritizing those bigger picture things, the structure, the melody, the chords, if you have them, like that kind of thing, having the bones of it, you know, the thing that's really going to carry the piece. And sometimes, like in a piece like this, it is more the vibe that is doing that for the music. Like it's you know, this track isn't about like a thing that you're singing along to. It's not about like, oh, we have to have like 2 verses to tell this story or anything. It's more of a moody thing. And so I think there is a little bit of interplay between how much the sounds inform what you're going to compose, and then also how much, you know, what you compose ends up determining like what sounds you want to use. For the found sound stuff, it's so much about just like what sounds do I have to work with, and what can I do with them. And in this one, I definitely, you know, I knew that I wanted to go to someplace high energy, but that could have been a lot of different things. And this is what I landed on based on the sounds available to me and whatever I was creatively able to come up with. I think typically, you know, on a more, I don't know, on a pop song or something like that, there's a little bit more like get the big picture stuff in place, and then you can like make sure the sound is exactly what you want it.